Okay, so
How are you?
good. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm a little stressed out,
How's that?
but just a lot on my plate. But that's sort of my life.
Mhm.
It comes with the territory of doing everything that you think is fun and not really giving up on stuff you think are fun, even if you don't have time for it. So
Mm.
hence me being the sort of, I don't know, what do you call it, those monkeys at the circus who have like a kick drum and like an accordion and cymbals for their feet and stuff. Like, yeah, that's me.
Okay,
uh the sort of,
like the
I don't
one
know.
man band except a monkey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like a little bit all over the place. That's sort of me. But
Mm.
I mean, I'm not a one man band when it comes to lowrider, but
Yeah.
it's just when it comes to project management for life and all the stuff I do, yeah, it's just me. And also combined with being a hopeless optimist with time.
Mm.
Well, it gets a lot of stuff done that maybe others would have been like, no, I don't have time for that. But they usually don't get done in time.
Right.
Lex sort of, or one could think of maybe an album that took 20 years to complete and whatnot.
Yeah, but it's not like you were actively working on the album for 20 years.
No,
No.
no, I certainly wasn't. But I
No,
hadn't.
you weren't like now I'm going to sit down and write refractions and
No, that happened maybe 2015,
yeah, okay.
14. That's
Okay.
when I was just like, no, we're doing an album.
Yeah.
But then again, I was just like, we're doing an album, and no one is going to tell us when it's supposed to be done, because then it's gonna sound like shit, and we're gonna fumble it. It's
There
gonna
you go.
Then you need to meet a deadline. Then eventually we actually put up a deadline because I said to Jad that I wanted one. So that's sort of why we sort of, and he said like, you might actually finish the album if I give you a deadline. So do you want one? I was just
Oh, froze.
like, yeah, sure. And that was August 19th.
That was when?
Um, August 15th, 2019. Yeah, we have an unstable internet connection just
Yeah,
joined.
yeah. Okay.
But yeah, so pretty much that's why we created Postwax and included Lowrider as one of the first ones, because he knew I was making music,
Mhm.
and he knew that he wanted to put it out, and I just was just like, I'll I'll finish the album, but first we can do an EP of just experimental stuff, and that's
And
Refractions.
that's the album.
So we actually have like, yeah, but the funny thing is like, when people are like jokingly like, "Oh, yo, we'll hear the next album in 2040," it's just like, yeah, that might actually be true. I don't know, uh, but I do know that I have the album already. Uh, we're not going to rush recording it just because we want to follow up Refractions or whatever. But it's not like I need to write songs,
Right.
because we left out all of the songs that we were saving for the album. Um, was left out of Refractions. So Refractions was thought of like, oh, we'll just do this like 5, 6 song experimental EP for Postwax. And then we realized like, oh, the experimental songs are like 9 and 11 minutes long, so it's like a full length. um, and then we realized like we really liked it, so we figured, oh, this is the sort of follow up to IO, which both gives us sort of uh, some time to breathe, to make an actual album, or like maybe it's one that has more than 6 songs on it, and to record the songs that I had saved for the album. But the bad thing is that people really liked Refractions, so now we need to follow up Refractions.
Right.
But yeah, it's I don't know. It maybe that's just you shouldn't complain about people liking
I was
your
gonna say
stuff.
that's a good problem to have. Is people
Yeah,
people enjoying your work? Yeah, that must be rough.
yeah. I mean, seriously, we wouldn't have made a second album if it wasn't for people caring. Um, the idea of making a second Lowrider album always was sort of fueled by people's love and nice comments and just personal letters that they wrote and whatnot. So it's not even 100%. It's like even more than that, if that was a possibility, that this band is fueled by fans, really. But I'm really happy that they encouraged us to do more, because now that we're here and we're playing again, it's like it's sort of like, I don't know, being back in a relationship you thought was like over, and you're like, no, we were just on hold, and it's your best friends. Yeah, I mean,
are you guys actually playing again? I mean, when was we're all in a room together?
Oh, that was in like February.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so but yeah, that's due to Corona, because we haven't had like a proper lockdown in Sweden, but we had travel restrictions, and we all live in different cities, between an hour and 3 hours away, in sort of like a star. So no one is really close to anyone, and no one is really on the way to someone else, really, in a way. But no, it's always a hassle if we are supposed to meet physically. That's why like Refractions was really recorded 99% like at a distance. I sent takes to Andreas, and then he recorded drums and sent it back, and we talked about it, and like it was sort of, we were jamming at like a 3 hour distance. So we were in a way sort of prepping us for what Corona was going to be like for every band.
Right.
We were just, no, seriously.
Yeah, no, that's it.
We didn't think about it like that. It was just like, we have to solve this somehow, because we had thought it was like, oh, we're gonna book a week, or we're gonna try weekends, and it's just like, we don't have time for that. And then that it's not going to be good on the first 4 or 5 takes anyway, so you're going to need like, it's going to be half a song every third weekend. The album's going to be done in 15 years.
Right.
So we realized like, we just need to find a way that works for us, and fuck whatever people say is like the proper way to record a record. And now, ironically, it's the way everyone needs to record a record.
That's it. And now it's what everyone has had to learn how to do.
Yeah.
In the last 8 months.
But the cool thing is, like, I talked to Nick from Elder about this, and just when like Corona was, when it was, I think in April or something, about how we did Refractions and how it was, because he was trying to find ways to record and get demos done without being a full band all the time, or even meeting your drummer. It was like, because they had a more serious lockdown. And then we just realized like, yeah, it's just the last couple of years really that you've been able to do this kind of music on a laptop as well. Because I mean, I recorded most of Refractions on this laptop, like with a external sound card, and I mean, of course, like good mics and whatnot, but it wasn't, and it wasn't, we recorded the guitars in a studio where I work, which is like, it's not a bad room at all, but it's just like, it's not what you would consider, what you would envision like, oh,
a studio.
How you would record guitars.
Right. It's not like you're in the live room with the...
No, and when we could have been, because that's where Andreas is recording the drums. That's where we recorded O2IO. He works at that studio, and that's where we have posted a couple of photos from and whatnot. That's really what sort of ties it all together. That the drums are recorded the way drums are supposed to be recorded. That's still like a big live room, with like proper miking and everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's amazing at engineering and also drumming. So if that would have been recorded in a different way, I think it would sound very much differently. But as it is now, we realize like no, guitars and bass and vocals can really be recorded anywhere, basically.
If you know what you're doing.
Sure.
Yeah.
And
if you have
yeah.
those mics and have kind of the setup and the wherewithal to make
yeah, but the funny thing is like we actually reamped a lot of the guitars for this album. We didn't always use we used the mics from Ola's amplifier.
Mm-hmm.
But we mainly recorded the guitars through an amplifier to get like the feedback and just the sort of that the guitar is breathing, that you're getting there's just natural feedback from the amp. But then we had a line out that we then could reamp with software and like these really nice amp models, and a lot of times they sounded better. So and it wasn't because we were miking anything wrong or had like shitty mics on the actual guitar amp. It was just like, yeah, that's one flavor. And that's why O2IO sounds the way O2IO sounds, is because that was recorded like that. It was like one type of miking on one or two amps, and then it's recorded just like in a week.
Mm-hmm.
And everything sounds like homogenic and sort of the same, and it's good. And it's also really what I didn't want to do for Refractions. It was just like, no, this song needs a totally different, like totally different sonics. So it was like really no holds barred on what kind of stuff you could use or not. So it's a blend between like really analog recording gear and really the state of the art, just guitar amp simulations and some really shitty plugins as well that just sound cool. So
like what? Like what were you looking for in different songs? What sound were you looking to change up?
No, it's just a lot of times I wanted more dynamics, first of all, because it was just like it can't just be like it's overdrive and then fuzz is on and then fuzz is off. It's just like we wanted just to mix stuff up more.
Mm-hmm.
And I had recorded a lot of the demos like really shittily, and noticed that recording the guitar straight into the speaker of the laptop on an acoustic guitar, and then adding distortion to it or taking that through an amp sim was like sounded really cool. so it's like, and then you try to recreate it with like the proper gear, and it's just like it just sounds too good. So a lot of like the more jangly stuff on, say, Pipe Rider, there's this guitar solo that is, when the long jam thing, that guitar solo is actually recorded. It's sort of a one take I did just because I wanted to have something to play against when I was recording bass and drums. And I had like a sketch track for drums and just the Mellotron organ doing bass pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And then through the whole process, that guitar solo was hard to mimic in how just sort of one take spontaneous it felt. So the solo you hear on the record is recorded really like it's just a one take, and it was recorded before everything else. So it's very much sort of reversed. But it we that was something we did early on with Refractions, was just like not try to say no to something just because it's like that's not the way you're supposed to do it. It's just like, yeah, but that guitar is cool, or that organ sounds cool. And we did a lot of like dubbing the bass with like a Moog bass,
Mm-hmm.
just to get like the really fat sub frequencies at times. It was like I wouldn't have done that when I was 19, 20 when we were doing Ode to Io. That was just like, you don't use synths. That's just you just don't. Uh, but yeah,
But how much in a recording process, especially in a recording process that's remote, how much of that is you reminding yourself of that, right? Of like you're you're saying it's okay to do it this way because it feels right. It's okay to do it this way because it's this. How much of it is you telling yourself to kind of ignore that 19-year-old voice in your head telling you you don't use synths?
well, that happened like, I don't know, when I was doing I Droid. Really, that was sort of a catharsis of like uh, all the don'ts of I don't know, the scriptures of what to do and what to not do.
Uh-huh.
And in doing that, it was just like opening up the lowrider sort of book again. I came in with fresh eyes on it, and just knew that, oh yeah, to get to the sounds I heard in my head, like that wall of sound, that is really hard to do with string based instruments sometimes. Like getting a Rickenbacker bass to go that low
Hmm.
and be that warm can be really hard, especially if you distort it. So and it's just, I just got into production a lot more and realized, like, yeah, just using like recording the bass clean as well to have to blend in, that's also not bad. It's really good because then you have those frequencies to blend in. um, so we did a lot of that. Like everything was recorded clean as well, so you could use that. Yeah, that also just sort of as a really for mixing and getting the sonics you want out of it. It's thing is, this is like nothing new to someone who is a producer and a mixer. They're just like, yeah,
Right.
stupid. But knowing that, going into making the record informed creative decisions on like what you could do,
Hmm.
uh, which was really nice, because then you start to think of like dynamics and ways to write a song based off of that. You know that it's like, don't worry, I have an avalanche of like bass coming at the chorus, so you don't have to like, you can actually sort of dial it back a little bit, and then it's going to be even more massive when it actually hits. uh,
Give me an example. Where? And give me an example on a song.
um I don't know, Pipe Rider is one where it's just like, you allow the sort of that first a beat that it sort of leads with drums. I started leading a lot of songs with drums and just letting the drums be more of a musical instrument, and that the actual hook was in like a drum beat.
Hmm.
And then before, I was more like, there was the riff and you introduced the riff, and then everything just came in and it was just like that riff, but now with fuzz and bass and drums. Just like, yeah, you can do it maybe like in a more interesting way and just like introduce stuff, just sort of try to step out of the formula,
Hmm.
for yourself and the listener, because this is now a very sort of, for people who listen to this kind of music, they are pretty, the tropes have been used a lot. So you just need to try to rethink stuff to not, even if it's a good song, you risk yourself being discarded just because it's tropey.
Hmm.
I mean, this goes with anything. It's like when, even if AC/DC were to drop like a really badass song now, it's just like no one will be surprised because it sounds like AC/DC. You're never going to recreate that sort of the first time you hear something that was like, wow, if you have done it 8 or 10 records in a row. So, but yeah, for a song like Pipe Rider, there's just a really, that riff. I think I would have produced it a lot heavier back in the day, and it would probably be like that would have been more a full blast. But then when it's supposed to hit, when everything comes in, where do you go if you're already at like 9.5? It's
Right.
just like, so it was more stuff like that. Just also, a confidence in knowing that it's just like you can be really soft for it to then explode, and just lean on stuff a little bit more. So like the midsection of Pipe Rider, the really mellow sort of long, super sort of reverbed out mellotron that is in the middle before it, or like at the end before it comes back. I wouldn't have done something like that when I was like 20 or 25, just because it was just like you're too anxious that like, oh, people are not going to stay interested, or it's like yeah, but you need to let it sort of cool down and for it to be really, really massive when it comes back, because you've already been like this much.
Yeah.
That's really my only problem with some of the like the production on O2IO when I listen to it now, is just like it's pretty much constantly at 8, between 8 and 10, which is cool about it. But it's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just like, I hear where you could have like just had one guitar on a verse rather than 2 or 3, and then it was like, yeah, but there's 6 on the chorus. It's like, yeah, but you can't even tell. So, and that's also a thing that a lot, playing with a lot of like other bands that are like a power trio.
Mhm.
I realized like the power of actually not having both Nicholas and Ola play at the same time sometimes, where it's just like just having one guitar can sound a lot heavier than 2.
Right.
So stuff like that. But it's mainly like the production side of things where I think we grew a lot.
How does that, I mean, as you're kind of putting together and working on the album, the next album,
Yeah.
how does that kind of inform what you're doing and the choices you're making?
Well, now that we
If the songs
did
are
it,
done, right? I mean,
the songs are not, they're not all done, because I usually like want to sprinkle in like a I don't know, some section or whatever, or a jam, but like the where I feel like, oh, I know that this is a song now, that is like I have an intro and a verse and a chorus and an idea of its structure, and also that there's vocals to it. But sure, they're not like done, and I have a master demo of it, but at least like 7 of them I have, 7 or 8. I mean, I think you've heard most of it, or at least most of like the ones that are done. Um, uh, but yeah, I feel very confident going in that I can start like thinking production while I add some extra stuff to songs. It's like it's more like you're adding like the sprinkles on the cake, rather than sort of, what kind of cake are we doing this time? And it's her birthday tomorrow, I need to bake it now.
right.
Because that's not a very good, that's just something that Refractions like taught us, that it's like you really need to not, at least for me, I can't work with this kind of stuff under stress, a real one or imaginary, because it was sort of imaginary for Refractions, since no one, people wanted an album, but they had since long given up on us doing another
And
one. So
yeah, it's way different when the audience knows an album is coming,
right,
as opposed to,
and
right, like no one knew there was going to be new Lowrider until
no,
post wax.
right, and by then the album was like, we were just, the only thing I really had left then when it was announced was sort of just writing lyrics,
Yeah.
and some final touches of like just getting the mixes right.
Oh, the internet. This frozen video is brought to you by water. Gotta hydrate. Hey, there you are.
Oh, did you hear any of that?
No,
No. Okay.
no.
I well, I was on a rant of why people like refractions so much.
Shit.
Is I'd say is 40% or more is the mix. That's why sort of when the mix is not something that you just do, I've realized just how much a mixing engineer, if they put them like hard into it,
Yeah.
uh, and if they're also a musician, which helps, uh, that they can sort of be the fifth Beatle, really. And that's really what Daniel became for us with Refractions, because the demo sounds cool. I mean, the songs are there,
Yeah.
but he made it sound massive, and just this cohesive, warm, just it's sort of like being run over by a cotton candy train, in a way, where it's just like
You've told me that before. Cotton
I
candy.
have, but I think we perfected it with this one.
Okay.
That's what I used to sort of tell people that our Android sounded like, but that's just because it was more of a pop thing.
Mm.
But here it is. It's really like it's like a freight train you want to get run over by, because it is.
Which would be the cotton candy.
Yeah.
Sticky. Fun.
Maybe not. I don't know, something that you want to be run over by, and not in like a suicidal way.
Right. Not an actual freight train.
No.
No.
But like I've always felt like when I was a kid, I liked going out when there was a storm and just to lean against the wind and just to feel sort of nature hit you, and just like you could almost like it's such a physical thing. And I realized like that's what I've gravitated towards a lot with music. It's just like stuff that is really bass heavy
Uh-huh.
and has a lot of like just like calm, calm, calm.
Yeah.
that, that sort of
The
thing.
jet engine effect. Yes.
Yeah. And I listening to Otoyo, I think there's at times we get there, but it's more like riff wise. It's just like, yeah, you get that feeling, but it doesn't have that kind of sonics, uh, or those kind of sonics. Refractions do. When like Pipe Rider or Sun Devil hits, it's just like
Mm.
I still get like, damn.
Yeah. Get
It's
that
just like,
chill. Yep.
yeah, it's just like, wow, that the everything is in there, and it sounds so fucking loud. Uh, and still, you want it's that kind of loud where you still can crank it up, because there's not a lot of like loud in the top frequencies. It doesn't. It's not like a cutting loud. It's just like this sort of, I don't know.
And is that Daniel? I mean, because it sounds, what you're talking about there is right. It gets loud but keeps its warmth.
Right.
It's the low end of those low frequencies that you're talking about putting in with the clean tones and all that.
Mm.
That's what lets it keep that warmth even when it's, as you say, very very loud.
Yeah, and also the way he mixes drums is really,
Dude, yes,
because he
yes,
what it's not it's not, it doesn't come from like, oh, he just pushes a button. There was a lot of like manual love made
he
to this, but the thing we talked a lot about when we were just talking about what we're trying to create, he
yeah,
wanted to he wanted to he calls it, he wants to create a bloom, like this blooming effect for the drums, where, or that it, you could say that it breathes, that when a kick drum, when you're next to a kick drum and you hit it, it's actually propelling air towards you,
yes,
and and that is part of what it sounds like. And for a lot of hard music or metal music, the what you want to get is like the first initial transient, the attack, and you can make them loud and they can have a lot of like sub frequencies, but that sort of that is almost always sort of mixed away. That's why I have a lot of problems with like some of 90s hard rock, because they were all just very sort of even like favorite albums like Bad Motor Finger has this kind of, the drums don't sound like drums when you stand in the room listening to drums. And but it's an impossible equation in some ways, because when you have a band that sounds like Lowrider or Kaya's or whatever, where all those low end frequencies, where the ear can pick that up, that is just like, it's fighting with the bass and the guitars and everything. So there's no way you can hear that sort of just the breath of the kick drum and the toms and everything. But he made it happen. Even if we're at like full blast on some of the songs, you still hear like the small minute details of the drums that make them sound like drums.
Yeah.
And that's really where his genius comes in, is where I don't know how he pulled that tug of war off, but he did.
It's kind of what he does, right?
It's kind of what he does. Yeah.
It's kind of what he does. Like,
he also hated me a lot during the, or not, he hated the process of trying to fit all of the information down there in where you could still hear it. Because like I would be complaining like, yeah, now you can't hear the kick drum, or it's like, yeah, now you can't hear the bass, or now the guitar seems muffled. It's just like, yeah, you can't have them all at 11 at the same time. If you talk to anyone who's like mixing theory, it's just like, that's the first thing you do. You shelve stuff where it's just like, here's your guitars, here's your vocals, or like, here's like your cymbals, and then you have like your midsection of like vocals and guitars, and the guitars can absolutely not be below this, because this is like for the kick and for bass.
okay.
So it's like, yeah, the kind of music we play is like everything is here, and then there's cymbals up here, and maybe vocals somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. Somewhere.
Yeah, it's just all supposed to be warm and loud. So, but yeah, he did a magnificent work with our record. Now, he's done some pretty awesome sounding records, but and not to be biased, but I think I'm still amazed at what he did for us. I think it's his best work to date.
Yeah, it's quite a body of work.
Yeah,
quite a body of work. So where are you in terms of recording now? Well,
I actually just got like the first drum take from Andreas, because
It's
I've been
awesome.
really busy.
Can I hear it? Can you play it?
Not now, because I don't know how to do it via Zoom.
Oh, all right. Can we? I wanted to ask you about the horse song. If we can talk about the horse song.
The fuck you and the horse you rode in.
I didn't want to say the title. I didn't know.
Why?
I didn't know if you wanted to give away the title.
No, it's supposed to be like the first single. So
okay.
we can talk about it.
So yes, fuck you and the horse you rode in on.
For short, and the horse you rode in on, but yeah, it's definitely, it's called "Fuck You" and the horse you rode in on, and the chorus goes "Fuck you" and the horse you rode in on. So yeah, it's yeah, you've heard it. You can talk about it.
I have. I would say it gets its point across.
But it's not an angry song, though.
No. It's spirited. Direct, I would say.
Yeah, I think it's the shortest song we've ever done. It's like 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's 2 something, right? 2 minutes something.
2:45, I think.
Yeah. Well, time well spent.
Just the one chorus.
It's like the opposite of Pipe Rider, kind of.
Pretty much. Right?
You take like that like kind of languid, super flowing jam. Pipe Rider, just ride it out, right? And you take the exact opposite of that.
I just felt like
somehow without being punk rock, right? I guess.
Yeah, I try to make a punk rock song, but I can't. So this is what we ended up with.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Songs really just come to me. That one I wrote in like 3 minutes, walking down from picking up my kids at school. Not it's not. I didn't have the lyrics then.
Right.
I just had this sort of.
Right. So how was your day, honey? Well,
I just had that sort of that vocal hook.
mm-hmm.
It's just like gun 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 gun. That I was just like, oh, that's so good. I must have heard it somewhere. And then I tried to find out where I stole it from. It was just like, no, maybe I just came up with it, I guess. And I expanded on it, and I couldn't make it longer than sort of 2 minutes 40. I tried to like, I can, then I can, that chorus can come back, and it's just like, it's worse when I do that. So I mean, you've heard the track, but it's sort of, it's very up tempo. It's sort of, there's this sort of verse and chorus mixed into the one, and then it's a very heavy section in the middle, and then sort of verse chorus thing comes back, and then it's done. And I just realized like, oh, this is good. Again with Refractions, like not questioning when something's like, it doesn't, you don't have to, it can be like this.
That's it. It's what it needs to be. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, we're trying to record that now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we're now, we haven't seen each other for 8 months, and we're trying to sort of pick up where we left off, and it's slowly getting the wheels back in motion. But I mean, the mics have been up since we recorded Refractions. The drums are in the same spot and everything, so it's really just blowing off the dust. Right. And just getting up in gear again, and hopefully, I mean, we've always aimed for the album to be out next year, but we'll see how we release it. If it's like, yeah, we'll
this Swedish connect,
like we're ready. But
you said the last thing I heard was, we'll see how we release it.
Yeah, we'll see how we release it. If we just put out like a single, and then another single like a couple of years, not months later, and then. But our intention it's always been that we were supposed to release the record next year, in 2021, and if everything flows creatively, then it's not like impossible, but it's not going to be an early release. It's going to be more like late 2021, but it's definitely going to be like a new song coming out sometime during the spring, I think.
So yeah, all right, that's fair.
It is probably going to be the song called "Fuck You" and the horse you rode
on.
Yeah.
That's
I wanted to have it out by the time of the election, just because it could be good cannon fodder for people to project to either side they want to use it for. I know who I want to project it against, but it's not something that is written and with a specific person in mind. It's just with a specific mindset in mind.
Isn't it amazing how unpolitical like heavy rock and roll is? I find that fascinating. How people take pains to avoid talking about politics.
I mean, I could talk a lot about politics, but
that's what well, there you go. Like, right? Like,
I'm hyper political.
Just embarrassed about it. It's like,
no, I'm not embarrassed about it. I just know that I will alienate some people.
I guess that's what it is.
And I feel like maybe I should keep like our music for people who want to listen to it. And I don't know if I'm looking at the albums as my kids, it's just like, maybe you're not supposed to walk around with like my favorite band on your t-shirt before you have even heard them, or like have my political views before you're 18. It's just like, our records never asked for my personal political opinion to be sort of painted all over them, because we've never been that kind of band. But if you want to have a political discussion with me, I have opinions. They're mainly about that you're supposed to be a nice fucking person, and if you can't be that to other people, change. I'm not weird politically, but yeah, I can be pretty outspoken to people who are asshats. Yeah.
Okay. I think that's fair.
So
Yeah,
hence,
I'm not going to argue with the position of don't be a dick.
no, but
Oh, Peter, I don't know.
some people will, or like the right to be a dick.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah. Well, see, the right to be a dick, it corresponds to the right to be called a dick. You know what I mean? Oh, now you're frozen. See? This internet connection's a dick. I need like hold music. There we go.
When I lost you at called a dick.
Yeah, no, that's it. The right to be a dick corresponds to the right to be called a dick. If you're gonna
Right.
be a dick, someone else has the right to absolutely come up and call you a dick. And if you don't want that to happen, don't be a dick.
Wait, I need to just tell my neighbor to not come now.
Oh,
And
you want to go? We've been talking for a while.
we've been talking for a while, but yeah, I just wanted to finish off the thing about politics in Stoner Rock, especially, that's sort of void of political talk at all.
Kind of.
Which I think is both in a way healthy, because it's sort of, that's why I feel the festivals and the genre and just the people involved are, it's usually just feels super involved and sort of inviting.
Mm-hmm.
And that is it's sort of, it feels like almost like the hippie movement without the sort of yeah man, that sort of just like, I don't know, bozo mentality. It feels like people are sort of there and they look you in the eye and they're usually very nice. And I think it's maybe because you don't start to talk about politics the first thing you do. And maybe we shouldn't with other people as well. Maybe we should like ask them how your day has been before we ask them what they vote for. Because I think it helps with helped by us now. Are we?
You're cutting out again. Because you think it helps. That's the last one. And there you go. Ooh, lost him. Hey, you're back.
Yo. My network is just horrific today. It's actually sort of, I'm losing the Wi-Fi. It sort of shuts down and comes back up again. Yeah.
That's apocalyptic. All right.
Yeah. But yeah, I just wanted to sort of finish off by saying that it's one thing I love about the stone rock scene and the desert rock scene, that it's not political. It's maybe something not to think of as a downside, but rather as sort of an inclusive upside of like everyone's invited, and that we can leave politics at the door. But yeah, everyone has opinions and they should. But maybe, yeah, I think it's nice when we play live sometimes. It's just like I feel free from a lot of just like the boundaries of regular life when we play, and I think it's just because I'm not thinking about maybe politics and all that other stuff. But then again, if if someone were to have a conversation with me, I do have opinions. But I don't know if I have the exact same like political opinions as all the other guys in the band. So it would be also sort of not very nice to them for me to be this sort of very outspoken person
Right.
about a specific topic. And then it's like, dude, we're like, it's four of us. But yeah, what maybe what we can sort of, what we agree upon wholeheartedly is just like, be nice to people and try to have like a calm discussion with people rather than, it's just like there's no use to the bickering and the name calling and all of that.
Shouting down.
And it should really be sort of not something that you need to even talk about. That's what you're supposed to even.
Right. It is. That is like, yeah, like 6-year-old shit is like, don't yell at somebody. When you,
yeah, it's just like, are we really, is this it? It's just like, yeah. And then you look at sort of what the political, I don't know, stage has looked like the last 4 years. And it's just like, oh yeah, that's why. It's like political leaders, all, not just in the US, but like
No.
all over, seem to have like, oh yeah, now we can throw shit at each other and just be horrendous. It's like, no, you're supposed to be the grown-ups.
Right.
God damn it.
Well, somewhat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's always lovely to talk to you, man. I don't know if you got what you wanted.
It took us like 3 days to make this happen, so pretty happy it came together at all. So thank you, and thank you for taking it out of your busy day. So I know you had a lot. We didn't even talk about going into the studio with Greenleaf.
It sounds great. It sounds like Greenleaf.
Of course it does.
It sounds a lot like Greenleaf, actually.
Yeah.
And they feel very happy and confident about the record. So
that's something to look forward to. New Greenleaf is always something to look forward to, man. That's nice.
Yeah, and they were done with the record going in. It's like it's not like they were experimenting or it's like, oh, I have this idea. It's just like they had the sort of calm with the songwriting that I felt when we were going into like re-record some of the demos I had for Refractions. Just felt like, oh, these are good songs. It's gonna be good. And so I've heard like 2-3 songs. It all sounds really fucking good. So
all right, that helps.
Yeah, and it's gonna be out pretty soon. Also, I think like first single is in a month or two. So they're mixing it. It's just like bam, off to the presses.
Wow. All right.
I'm supposed to do the record cover, and it's due in 3 weeks, I think. And they just decided the title today.
No pressure.
No, it's the opposite of. It's always been like that working with Tommy. It's just like with Dozer and with Greenleaf and everything. He's so fucking productive, and they just like bam, 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 more, and I'm just like, I'm still working on our second album. Like, I need to just.
It's been 20 years.
And I was just like,
you can put out an EP before the album.
Yeah, it's just like, am I the? It's sort of like being the turtle looking at the cheetah, just like, bing. Yeah, go cheetah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but we're doing, for being like creatively or musically so in tune, we are in our processes like so different. Yeah, I don't know anyone who has like the work ethic of Tommy. Really, he's just like insane. Constantly doing stuff. Yeah.
All right, I'll let you go. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, man.
I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.